Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name's Max and today I'm going to be introducing you to two of the main characters from my novel. This is mainly an art channel, so there is going to be art in this video as well, obviously. I'm going to be drawing these characters while I talk to you about them. So if you're interested in character building through writing and like character arcs and things, then this will be a useful video for you. But also if that's not your thing and you're more interested in portraiture or character design through art, then this will also be very useful. So yeah, I hope you like my characters and I hope you enjoyed the video. So first of all, as you can see, I'm just sketching out the illustration that I'll be doing. This is a moment from the book, which isn't long after the two characters meet. I'm not going to talk too much about my illustration process because I plan on doing a more in-depth video with more examples on how you do it and how you actually put it into a digital format as well. So I won't talk about that too much now. Instead, I'm going to focus on their personalities, their character arcs, and how their physical designs relate to those. And hopefully you should be inspired and have a little bit more of an idea on how you can create your own characters in your own stories or just in your own art. So first I'm going to talk you through their physical designs and how those relate to their personalities and their circumstances. I'm going to be putting pictures up on the screen because the designs aren't that clear from this illustration, especially because one of them isn't wearing anything. So let's start with Raven. He is the main character and he is the one who is towards the bottom of the screen. And they're floating around in water, by the way. I thought I should just make that clear because otherwise it would look a little bit weird because these aren't very human poses, but whatever. He has long hair because he was raised by a group of only women, and men basically don't exist in this universe. They're kind of a myth because they were left behind because there was basically an uprising where all the women were like, you know what, stop abusing us, this sucks. And then they just like left and then they went to live in the woods where they got magical powers and then they like built their own society, which you would know already if you watched my other videos on this. But because he lives with women, he's got longer hair because most of the women have longer hair. Obviously, some women have short hair, but he's going to want to fit in because he feels really alienated because he's so different. So a lot of his character design is surrounded by his desire to try and fit in more with the female community. And then you may think, well, why isn't he wearing a dress then? Well, that's because they live in friggin' like Iceland, well, like near Iceland. It's a fictional island near Iceland, where it's freezing, and because there's no like men around to tell the women what to wear, they're just going to wear what's comfortable. So most of them are going to be wearing trousers and whatever's warmest anyway. Obviously, some of them will still want to be wearing dresses from time to time, but they're not going to constantly be like objectified into having to wear ridiculous clothes that don't actually make any sense considering the climate. Raven also has these little beads in his hair, which you can see from this illustration here, and those are kind of part of his coven's like culture. So whenever like a big event happens in their life, like if a family member dies or if a family member is born, then they get like a little bead to put in their hair. And so his first one is purple, and that's to signify when he was born, and then the next one is black, and that's when his mum dies, which happens like chapter 1, so that's not spoilers or anything. Raven mainly wears green and brown, which you can see in this image here, which is in colour, and that's because he is from a poorer coven that doesn't have access to rarer colours and more expensive dyes like yellows and purples, for example. And he can only wear these colours because where he comes from, they make the dyes from the grass and from the mud because that's the only kind of materials that they have access to, whereas other characters wear different colours because they're from different places. So now we're going to start talking about Eika, who is the character towards the top of the screen. Eika and Hazel are both kind of sub-main characters, but I'm going to talk about Hazel in a different video. So starting with Eika's appearance, Eika's hair, which, you know, the colour of it, you can't really tell because all the illustrations are black and white, but it's meant to be like really, really light blonde, like kind of platinum blonde, but in reality it looks a lot darker because he's skanky and doesn't wash because washing doesn't really exist, and also where are you going to find a bath in the middle of the woods? Eika is very scrawny. As you can see here, his ribs are protruding. I don't know if I've shown that particularly well. It might just look like he has gills. He's basically just hella malnourished because he lives in the woods for like a little while before Raven finds him. And he doesn't know how to take care of himself in the woods because unlike Raven, he hasn't like lived there all his life. He's just like recently been made to go there. Originally, this was kind of like the opposite way around. Like apparently for some reason I thought Raven was the one who didn't know how to look after himself. And so in my original like introducing my character from like last year, then I say the completely wrong thing. So everything in that video, if you've seen it, then just kind of ignore it because this is fact now. To start with, Eika wears a yellow jumper, but it's like more brown than yellow because like I said, he's skanky. And that's because where he comes from, they do have access to dyes like yellow, but after this bit, actually, that I'm illustrating now, he changes into like a spare set of Raven's clothes, which obviously don't fit him properly because he's a lot smaller than Raven. So now I'm going to talk a bit about their kind of personalities and character arcs, I guess. Both of them make a lot of mistakes in the story because one of the kind of overarching themes is losing sight of what matters in pursuit of kind of superficial things that don't, and kind of placing your desires before the things you have already. So I guess they both have this kind of similar character arc of making mistakes and then learning from them by the end, but also, to start with, Raven has zero trust of Eika because he's been raised to think that men are like scary monsters and that they are dangerous. Even though he is one, he kind of believes that about himself as well, and that's kind of a whole nother traumatized child thing to unpack. But after this scene that I'm drawing here, they trust each other a bit more. This is kind of their pivotal bonding moment when they go for this little swim in this random, like, you know those like heat vents? I think they're, I don't know, I can't remember what they're called, but they're like little pools up north in like Iceland and places, and they're like volcanic crap is going on underneath them and they're warm. We can't actually see most of Eika's internal conflict for the majority of the story, because like I said, he and Raven can't communicate, and it's told from Raven's perspective, so everything we know about Eika is basically just Raven's perception of him. But they end up having a lot more in common than they first thought they did. When you're like designing your own characters, some advice would be to kind of either pick some like lists of like personality traits they've got, and then work backwards and think what happened to them when they were younger that made them have those traits, or if you've already got a backstory for them, then try and like develop personality traits that could work off of that. So for example, with Raven, he hates himself a little bit. He's got like no self-esteem, and that's because he was brought up in a community that hated him and always told him that he was kind of a curse to everyone, and every time something bad happened, even if it was nothing to do with him, everyone would just blame him just for existing. And if you wanted to look at an example that was the other way around, Raven has a very short temper. He gets angry very quickly and argues with people very quickly as well. And that's because he just has this constant underlying resentment towards the world for all of the kind of injustices of his past. So it's kind of for a similar reason as the other thing. But, you know, it's an example. Unfortunately, I can't really say a lot about Eika's personality because the whole point of their relationship is Raven slowly getting to know Eika, so if I told you, it would kind of like spoil like most of the plot. But that is the end of the video. If you want to have a more in-depth look at how I draw my illustrations and how I upload them onto Word, then just stick around because I'm going to make one of those really soon. I hope you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I hope that you found it helpful for your own characters and stories. See you next week. Bye!